Most people live on edge, easily offended, quickly distracted, emotionally exhausted. One message ruins their day. One look from a stranger shatters their confidence. One setback, and they collapse inward. Why? Because they've never trained their mind. Because they've built no inner fortress, no grounding philosophy, no conscious grip on their emotions. And so they live at the mercy of everything around them. But that's not how Stoics live. That's not how you have to live. You can become untouchable not by being cold or indifferent, but by mastering the inner space where life really happens. Epictetus taught that no one can harm you unless you allow it, that peace isn't given, it's built. And in this episode, you're going to build it, block by block, thought by thought. We're going to walk through 10 Stoic principles that will shield your peace, sharpen your mind, and help you move through life with strength, clarity, and control. These are not tricks, they are disciplines, and when practiced daily, they forge a kind of calm that no chaos can disturb. If you're ready to stop reacting and start responding, to stop absorbing and start transcending, then this is your moment. Subscribe to Stoic Reflections like this episode to claim your mental discipline and drop a comment below. Which of these principles will you begin with today? Let's get to work. 1. Discover and commit to a firm hypothesis. There's a reason you feel lost when challenges strike or when distractions multiply. It's because you haven't truly chosen your direction. Most people drift, not because they're incapable, but because they've never paused long enough to ask themselves what they actually stand for. They chase applause, routine, convenience, and call it a life. But the Stoic knows better. Epictetus taught that without purpose, we are slaves to external forces, our moods, the opinions of others, the chaos of circumstance. To build true strength, you must first root yourself in something deeper, a firm, deliberate purpose, not a vague wish, not a temporary goal, but a principle that governs the way you move through every single day. Your purpose becomes your compass. It helps you say no when others fold. It keeps you standing when everything around you falls apart. Because once you've defined what truly matters, everything else becomes noise. You stop needing constant motivation. You stop second-guessing your every move. You stop bending for approval or chasing every shiny distraction. You know what you're here to do, and you structure your life around it. That kind of clarity is rare and powerful, but it doesn't happen by accident. You must choose it. Purpose is not found, it's forged. You discover it in silence, in reflection, in ruthless honesty with yourself. Ask, what are my values? What am I willing to suffer for? What will I never compromise on, no matter how tempting the shortcut or how loud the pressure? Once you answer that, everything changes. You begin to protect your time. You speak with more intention. You align your actions with something bigger than impulse. This alignment brings calm. Even in chaos, you move with integrity. Even in failure, you keep your dignity, because your compass doesn't point to comfort, it points to truth. Epictetus didn't tell us to chase a perfect life. He told us to live by principle, to act in harmony with our reason and nature. That means showing up for your purpose even when it's inconvenient, especially then, because it's easy to feel strong when life is easy. But the real test is when your clarity is challenged, when distractions try to pull you off course, when others mock your discipline, when the world tells you to drift. That's when your purpose must be louder than your mood. That's when you stand firm. So choose your compass. Don't let it be money. Don't let it be fame. Don't let it be how others see you. Let it be something internal, something eternal. And once you've chosen it, commit, protect it, align with it. Because when you walk with purpose, you walk above chaos, and nothing can shake a man who knows exactly where he's going. Most people live on edge, easily offended, quickly distracted, emotionally exhausted. One message ruins their day. One look from a stranger shatters their confidence. One setback, and they collapse inward. Why? Because they've never trained their mind. because they've built no inner fortress, no grounding philosophy, no conscious grip on their emotions, and so they live at the mercy of everything around them. But that's not how Stoics live. That's not how you have to live. You can become untouchable not by being cold or indifferent, but by mastering the inner space where life really happens. Epictetus taught that no one can harm you unless you allow it, that peace isn't given, it's built. And in this episode, you're going to build it, block by block, thought by thought. We're going to walk through 10 Stoic principles that will shield your peace, sharpen your mind, and help you move through life with strength, clarity, and control. These are not tricks, they are disciplines, and when practiced daily, they forge a kind of calm that no chaos can disturb. If you're ready to stop reacting and start responding, to stop absorbing and start transcending, then this is your moment. Subscribe to Stoic Reflections like this episode to claim your mental discipline and drop a comment below. Which of these principles will you begin with today? Let's get to work. 3. Guard your mind from toxic influence. Your mind is your fortress, your most sacred territory. Everything you see, hear, and absorb becomes a brick in the structure of your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs. And yet most people leave the gates wide open. They let anyone in, anything in. Noise, gossip, fear-mongering, negativity, constant streams of distraction and corruption pouring in without resistance. Then they wonder why they feel anxious, unfocused, and defeated before the day even begins. But the Stoic knows better. Epictetus taught us to be fiercely selective with what we allow to shape our minds, because what you tolerate mentally, you eventually live emotionally. Not every voice deserves your attention, not every opinion needs your consideration, and not every piece of information is worth your energy. In fact, most of it is poison, slow, subtle, and silent. One complaint here, one headline there, one cynical friend who laughs at your discipline. Before you know it, your clarity is clouded, your peace is disturbed, your direction is lost, not by force, but by slow, constant erosion. That's why guarding your mind is not optional, it's essential. It is the gate you must man with discipline and vigilance every day. This means filtering your inputs, being deliberate about what you consume, who you listen to, and how you spend your time. Are your conversations building you or draining you? Is your news feed sharpening your mind or infecting it with fear and outrage? Are your relationships lifting you toward your potential or anchoring you to mediocrity? These are not small questions. They are life-shaping questions because your mind becomes what it's fed. And if you don't protect it, the world will fill it with garbage and charge you emotionally for the damage. Guarding your mind also means protecting your inner dialogue, because sometimes the most toxic voice is your own, the critic in your head, the fear that repeats itself, the doubt that you've internalized from years of outside opinions. You must confront that voice, challenge it, replace it with reason, with reflection, with truth. That's the Stoic way, not just resisting external chaos, but defeating the internal stories that keep you weak. You don't need to live in a bubble, but you do need boundaries. You need to treat your attention like a currency, precious, limited, spent only on what serves your purpose, your clarity, your inner strength. When you guard your mind like this, something shifts. You think cleaner, you feel calmer, you become less reactive, more deliberate. And you start to see the noise of the world for what it really is, background static, trying to pull you off course. So draw the line, build the wall, not to shut the world out, but to protect the power within. Because a mind that's clean, focused, and guarded is a weapon. And in a world designed to distract and weaken you, that weapon is your greatest advantage. 4. Handle criticism with inner security. Most people crumble under criticism not because the words are powerful, but because their identity is fragile. One negative comment, one disagreement, one dismissive tone, and suddenly they question their worth, their path, their voice. But the Stoic doesn't give that power away. Epictetus reminds us that other people's opinions are their concern, not ours. What matters is not what is said, but how deeply it lands. And if it lands too hard, it's not because they hit too well, it's because you've left a crack inside yourself unfortified. Criticism only wounds when it touches something unresolved, when you're not sure about your own values, when you're still looking for validation from others. That's where insecurity breeds, right in the space where you haven't yet stood firm in who you are. So the first step is internal. Know your values, know what you stand for, know what you're building, and once you do, you'll be able to reflect on criticism without absorbing it. You'll have the maturity to ask, is this useful? Is this aligned with my path? If yes, apply it. If not, discard it. No ego, no resistance, just clarity. This approach transforms the way you receive feedback. You stop seeing it as a threat. You start seeing it as information, some of it helpful, some of it irrelevant, but none of it capable of shaking your center unless you let it. The Stoic holds a mirror up to his soul, not the kind handed to him by others, but the one he polishes daily through reflection and action. If someone's words match what he already knows he needs to work on, he uses them. If not, he lets them go. No resentment, no debate. Just calm detachment. And remember, sometimes criticism says more about the critic than the criticized. People often project their own insecurity, envy, or misunderstanding. The stronger you become, the more some will try to provoke you, consciously or not. But when your inner foundation is solid, you don't flinch. You don't waste energy trying to prove yourself to people who've already made up their minds. You move forward, with poise, with silence, with strength. This isn't pride, it's inner security. The kind that doesn't need applause to keep going or agreement to feel justified. It's the kind of confidence that's rooted in principle, not popularity. And once you operate from that place, criticism becomes like wind. It might blow around you, but it never moves you off your path. So train yourself. When criticism comes, pause, breathe, ask what's true, use what serves, drop what doesn't. And remember, nothing said about you can break you unless you give it permission. Inner security means you don't react, you evaluate. You don't defend, you decide. And that calm in the storm, that's the mark of someone who's truly untouchable. 5. Transform offense into growth. You are not hurt by the insult itself, but by your judgment of it. That's what Epictetus taught, and it changes everything. Because if the pain is not in the event, but in your interpretation, then your power lies not in controlling what others say or do, but in reshaping how you receive it. The modern world teaches you to take offense quickly, to assume malice, to hold on to every slight as if it's proof of your worth. But the Stoic path leads in the opposite direction. It teaches that offense is not something you have to take, it's something you can refuse to carry. When someone says something cruel, unfair, or ignorant, your ego wants to respond, to lash out, to defend, to prove your value through retaliation. But the Stoic pauses. He creates space between the wound and the response. In that space, there's a question. What part of me is reacting? My ego or my reason? My insecurity or my integrity? That question alone is a doorway to growth, because the moment you realize you don't have to respond emotionally, you reclaim your control. You stop giving your peace to people who never earned it. This doesn't mean you accept abuse. It means you develop the discernment to know what requires your energy and what doesn't. When you take offense to everything, you become emotionally fragile. But when you choose your reactions with wisdom, you become emotionally strong. You learn to look at the insult and say, that's theirs, not mine. And when you can do that, you rise, quietly, with power. Offense can also be used as fuel, not for vengeance, but for refinement. When someone insults you, ask, is there any truth in this? not because you believe them, but because you seek clarity. Maybe there's a blind spot, maybe there's a weakness. If there is, good. Now you know what to work on. If there isn't, good. You've just practiced emotional discipline. Either way, you grow. That's the Stoic way, to turn every attack into an opportunity for reflection and every criticism into a test of composure. And forgiveness, that's not weakness, it's strategy. You forgive not to let them off the hook, but to unhook yourself from the emotional grip of their offense. You don't carry the poison hoping they'll feel it. You drop it, you move on lighter, stronger, unshaken. So the next time someone tries to hurt you, don't just react. Stop, see it, dissect it, ask, what can I learn here? What part of me still needs fortification? How can I walk away more aware, more composed, more free? That's how you transform offense, not into pain, but into power, not into bitterness, but into wisdom. Because the man who cannot be easily offended is the man who cannot be easily broken. And that is what true resilience looks like. 6. Overcome fear and shame with reason. Fear and shame are shadows that follow many people their entire lives, not because they're real threats, but because they're never confronted. You feel fear and you avoid. You feel shame and you hide. And so these emotions grow in silence, feeding off your silence. But Epictetus, and every true Stoic, knew this. Fear and shame only have power over you when you let them remain unexamined. Once you face them with reason, really face them, you realize they're smaller than you thought. You realize they were never monsters, just stories. And stories can be rewritten. Fear thrives on exaggeration. It tells you things will be worse than they are, that you will fail, that you'll be embarrassed, that others will reject you. But pause and question it. What exactly are you afraid of? Be specific. Put it into words. Then ask, is this fear based on fact or just feeling? The moment you use reason to break down the fear, it starts to dissolve. The Stoic doesn't wait for courage to arrive. He builds it by shining light into the dark corners of the mind, by facing the thing he avoids, by doing the thing he dreads, not recklessly, but rationally. That's how fear loses its grip, through exposure and understanding. Shame works differently, but it's just as deceptive. Shame convinces you that your past defines you. That one moment, one failure, one label is enough to make you small forever. But the Stoic rejects this. You are not your past. You are your choices, your present choices. Shame is useful only when it leads to correction, not when it becomes a sentence you serve for life. And the way out of shame is not denial, it's ownership. It's looking at your mistakes and saying, yes, that happened. But that is not who I am anymore. You learn. You evolve. You move forward. That is how you turn shame from a cage into a compass. Both fear and shame lose their power the moment you realize they don't operate in truth. They operate in vagueness. They survive on silence, avoidance, and self-punishment. But when you apply reason, when you break them down, when you examine them piece by piece, they shrink. You stop reacting, and you start understanding. You stop running, and you start walking forward. This isn't about being fearless or shameless. It's about being stronger than both. It's about remembering that you have a mind built for clarity, for courage, for self-governance. And if you train that mind daily, through writing, through reflection, through bold, small actions, you begin to free yourself, not instantly, but steadily. And each time you face fear with logic, each time you face shame with truth, you rebuild something far more valuable than comfort, self-respect. So name the fear, expose the shame, speak it, break it, walk through it. That's what the Stoic does, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way to live free. 7. Anticipate obstacles with Premeditatio Malorum. Most people live as if the road ahead will always be clear. No interruptions, no resistance, no pain. They're shocked when life hits. Surprised when things go wrong. But the Stoic is never surprised. He expects it. He trains for it. He prepares his mind not only for what could go right, but for what will go wrong. This practice, called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils, isn't about pessimism. It's about power, because when you visualize adversity before it happens, you don't become paranoid. You become unshakable. Epictetus and the Stoics didn't see obstacles as exceptions. They saw them as part of the process. They believed that rehearsing setbacks in the mind prepared the soul, that if you can picture a thing going wrong, feel it, hold it, and stay steady anyway, then when the real storm comes, it won't break you. You'll already know what to do. You've already seen it. You've already stood inside it with calm. This is not negative thinking. This is mental armor. It's standing in the mirror before your day begins and asking, what might go wrong today? Who might disappoint me? What pressure might hit me unexpectedly? Then you rehearse your response, not emotionally, but rationally. If this happens, I will remain calm. If I'm insulted, I won't react. If my plans collapse, I'll adapt. You set your expectations in line with reality, and by doing so, you disarm chaos before it has the chance to rattle you. Modern minds avoid this practice because they associate discomfort with failure. But the Stoic understands discomfort is preparation. You don't visualize loss to suffer, you visualize it to build readiness, and readiness gives you peace, because when the loss comes, you don't panic. When the betrayal lands, you don't collapse. When the delay drags on longer than you hoped, you don't give up. You respond with strength, not because it's easy, but because you've already carried the weight in your mind. Think of the warrior. He sharpens his blade long before the battle begins. He trains in the cold, the dark, the silence, so that when war comes, his movements are automatic. That's what Premeditatio Malorum does for the mind. It sharpens your perception. It gives you poise. You stop expecting ease and start welcoming challenge. And in that shift, your entire life transforms. So today, take 5 minutes. Visualize the difficult. Don't panic. Don't resist. Just picture it. Sit with it. Then breathe and realize you are stronger than the storm. You've already rehearsed it. And when it comes, you'll be ready. Not because you hoped it wouldn't, but because you prepared for when it did. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's Stoicism. 8. Harness inner strength over external chaos. The world around you will always be unstable. People will change. Plans will fall through. Circumstances will shift without warning. And if your peace depends on those things going your way, you'll be in constant turmoil. But Epictetus and every Stoic who walked the path with clarity taught a different lesson. Build your foundation inside, because what's inside you is the only place you can govern fully. And when that internal space is disciplined, calm, and grounded in principle, no external storm can truly shake you. It starts with a decision to stop trying to control the uncontrollable. You can't make people speak kindly. You can't stop the market from crashing. You can't ensure that every plan succeeds, but you can master your reaction. You can choose your attitude. You can train your attention and your effort day after day until they are no longer dictated by moods or headlines or opinions. That is the essence of inner strength, not force, not cold detachment, but total command over what is yours. And what is yours? Your judgment, your actions, your values, your decisions. Everything else, what others say, how they respond, what they give or take, is outside your control. The Stoic accepts this not as defeat but as liberation, because once you stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable, you redirect that power inward. You become stable in chaos, clear in confusion, focused when others panic. This doesn't mean you ignore the world, it means you move through it with intention. You become the calm presence in the middle of noise, the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't lash out, doesn't crumble, because your peace isn't floating on the surface, it's rooted deep beneath it. And you tend to that root daily, through reflection, through forgiveness, through wise response instead of reaction. That inner root grows stronger when you forgive, not for them, but for you, because anger drains energy. Resentment clouds reason. You let go, not to forget, but to stay free. You also grow stronger through reflection, pausing each night or morning to ask, where did I act with virtue? Where did I let emotion take the lead? What will I refine today? This habit builds self-trust, and self-trust is where inner power begins. Finally, you act, not emotionally but mindfully. You speak when needed, stay silent when wise, move when aligned. That's how you live above chaos, not by avoiding life, but by anchoring your life in something deeper than comfort. So while the world spins, hold your ground, while others shout, stay still. While storms rage outside, build calm within. Because true strength isn't loud, it's not dramatic, it's steady. And once you've built it, nothing out there can take it away from you. Not loss, not betrayal, not change. That's the gift of Stoicism, and it begins the moment you decide to make your peace your responsibility, not anyone else's. 9. Practice. Self-restraint and mindful action. Power is not in the impulse, it's in the pause, in the space between what happens and how you respond. That's where your freedom lives. And yet, most people abandon that space. They react instantly. They speak out of anger, they act out of fear, they chase desires blindly, and then they suffer, not because of what happened, but because they refused to slow down. The Stoic, on the other hand, treats that space as sacred. Epictetus taught that self-restraint is not repression, it's mastery. It's the choice to act from reason, not reflex. To move with intention, not emotion. That's where true power begins. Every situation in life gives you a small test. Will you react, or will you respond? When someone provokes you, do you retaliate, or do you observe, breathe, and choose your words with purpose? When temptation arises, do you indulge automatically, or do you question the cost, the consequence, the long-term effect? These moments may seem small, but they define the structure of your character, because character isn't built in dramatic speeches, it's built in the invisible discipline of your daily choices. Self-restraint is strength, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that lasts. It's what keeps you from saying something you'll regret, from quitting when things get hard, from being ruled by your appetites. It teaches you that just because something is available doesn't mean it's right, that just because you can doesn't mean you should. It sharpens your ability to delay gratification, to resist chaos, to uphold your standards even when no one is watching. Mindful action is the natural companion to restraint. It means that every step you take is chosen, not guessed, not rushed, not borrowed from someone else's expectations. You move deliberately, you pause when you're unsure, you speak when your words have weight, and you leave silence when it's more powerful than sound. This is not slowness, it's clarity. The Stoic doesn't live passively, he acts, but he acts with full awareness. And in that awareness, he builds peace. Not the peace of avoiding conflict, but the peace of knowing he didn't betray himself to win the moment, that he didn't sell out his values for a burst of pleasure or validation, that he stayed in control, not of the world, but of himself. And that control is everything, because once you lose your inner grip, you become a puppet to whatever the day throws at you. But when you hold that line, when you practice restraint and move mindfully, you become immovable. So start small, pause before you speak, reflect before you act, question your cravings, sharpen your standards, and in every moment ask yourself, is this aligned with who I want to be? That question, asked repeatedly, builds a life of power, calm, and integrity. And the man who lives that way doesn't need to dominate others. He already commands himself. 10. Live according to nature and accept reality. There is a rhythm to life that most people fight against. They resist change, cling to control, demand perfection, and suffer endlessly when things don't go their way. But Epictetus and every Stoic master taught a truth that frees the mind and strengthens the soul. Live in accordance with nature. That doesn't mean living in the woods or following instincts. It means aligning yourself with reality, not your fantasies. It means accepting that life is fluid, imperfect, cyclical. And your peace comes not from bending the world to your will, but from adjusting yourself to the truth of how life works. You are a rational being. That is your nature, which means your highest strength lies not in emotion or impulse, but in reason, clarity, and virtue. And it also means accepting that other people will not always act reasonably, that circumstances will not always go your way, that time moves forward, people change, losses happen. This isn't defeat, it's maturity. The Stoic doesn't waste energy denying what is. He uses that energy to respond wisely to what's in front of him. To live according to nature also means to embrace simplicity, to stop chasing what you don't need, to stop comparing yourself to others, to let go of the obsession with more and return to what's essential: character, presence, contribution. You weren't made to scroll endlessly or obsess over status or prove your worth through noise. You were made to think deeply, to act justly, to speak honestly, and to accept that not everything is yours to control. The moment you stop resisting that truth, your suffering begins to dissolve. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity, it means clarity. You still take action, you still pursue growth, but you do it without the internal chaos of trying to force life to be something it isn't. You stop needing guarantees, you stop fearing endings, you start noticing the beauty in what already is. And in that state, you gain the power to change what can be changed: your choices, your attitude, your habits, while letting go of what never belonged to you in the first place. Living according to nature means embracing your limits, knowing you won't be here forever, understanding that your time is short, and choosing not to waste it in resistance. It means forgiving what you can't understand, appreciating what you didn't earn, letting go of what you can't keep, and doing your work with discipline and virtue for as long as life gives you the strength. So breathe deeper, expect less from the world and more from yourself. Show up not to control the outcomes, but to honor the moment. Accept what is, do what you can, and let that be enough. Because in that acceptance lives the highest freedom a man can know, not freedom from difficulty, but freedom from illusion. And that's the core of Stoicism: reality embraced, nature honored, and peace earned through alignment with both. You don't need the world to change for you to find peace. You don't need perfect people, predictable days, or guaranteed outcomes. What you need is a mind trained in clarity, a heart anchored in principle, a will strong enough to act with calm even when the storm surrounds you. In this episode, you've walked through 10 Stoic principles, each one a shield, a compass, a weapon. Not to escape life, but to master it. Not to numb yourself, but to feel with wisdom. These teachings from Epictetus are not ancient relics. They are daily tools. And if you apply them, not just understand them, you will become the kind of person this world cannot shake. Start with 1. Commit to it. Make it your standard. Then build from there. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. You train your responses, you protect your peace, you sharpen your judgment. You learn to live aligned with what matters and to let go of everything that doesn't. If that message resonates with you, if you're ready to carry Stoic strength into your daily life, then subscribe to Stoic Reflections now. Like this episode if one idea hit deep, and share in the comments, which of these 10 principles will you commit to mastering today? You're not here to be untouchable through denial, you're here to be unshakable through wisdom, and that journey starts now.